Hi everybody, April Jones here. I have been an attorney now over 33 years, and Jones Law Firm has been serving clients in Colorado, and we are in our 24th year. This webinar series, I'm so excited to bring it to you. It's helping us with our mission of education, enlightening our clients, and really helping you try to get to the next best place in your life. So we've got a lot of good information for you. We've got experts, we've got our team, we've got panel discussions, and so much more. So let's go see what this webinar is about, and I will see you on the other side. Everybody, welcome to our Jones Law Firm webinar series. So excited to have you all join us. Today we are talking about summer parenting time. We'll be talking through the common questions and challenges that parents face who are sharing custody, who are deciding how to split up, but still manage parenting their children, because your children don't split up just because your relationship didn't work. So let's just dive right in. I'm gonna have my team. We'll introduce ourselves. So I'm April Jones, Jones Law Firm PC, founded it in 2000. We do family law. We do it really well. We are one of the largest family law firms in the state of Colorado, and at 25 years, we've been around a long time, and we take what we do very seriously. We are joined today by several of my associates who are also happy to be here, ready to serve, and amazing. So let's just quickly introduce ourselves, and we can jump right into the questions. So Haley, give a little bit about you, why you do family law, how long you've been a lawyer.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Haley Hollins. I have been practicing law in general since 2016, only with family law. I am new to Colorado about 2 years now, and I'm a really big proponent of being able to help families during this process, whether that's through litigation or through coming up with something that is non-standard for your family. I feel really blessed to get to help people family out.
Thank you, Haley. Will.
Hi, I'm Will Garvey. I've been practicing for 5 years now. I started my practice out in Chicago, moved out to Colorado this last year. I have a background in civil litigation, so finances, discovery, anything like that, something I can help with. I really got into family law because I want to help people through these difficult times in their life. Divorce is never easy to go through, but when you got a good team behind you, it can make it that much simpler at the very least.
Thanks, Will. Billy.
Hi, my name is Billy Skinner. I've been a lawyer since 2007, practiced family law a long time. One thing that I bring to the table is that I'm divorced and I've been doing summer co-parenting plans for more than 15 years. So I enjoy helping people get through the process and helping guide them to being successful co-parents.
Thank you. All right, let's jump right in. We have some questions. Also, if you are live, go ahead and put your questions in the chat. We will take the questions we received in advance, and we will also try to get some of the questions from the chat. So jump right in if you have questions or if you need clarification. Okay, first, and this will go to Haley. Why is it recommended for parents who are separated or divorced to have a parenting plan, and how does summer break get figured into the parenting?
Absolutely. In my opinion, having a parenting plan, having any plan is important to make sure that everything runs smoothly. And your parenting plan is going to be the document that's crafted either by you and your co-parent or the court to actually describe the parenting time that each person has with the child. Why is it important, or why do we recommend it? Because then you're not having to directly communicate or broker every single period of possession and access that you're going to have with your child, so that you can know and plan in advance and have a plan set out for what days, what times are yours, when they're your spouse's, so that you can then figure out exactly whose time is when, and figure out what you can do then. That way you're not subject to your ex's whims of if they're someone who wants to be withholding or someone who likes to change the plans at the last minute. Having a court-ordered parenting plan is paramount to protecting your parenting time with your child.
And what you get into with summer, some schedules, the summer schedule continues. Like, let's say you have week on, week off, you can continue that all through the summer, and you don't really have a difference in your parenting schedule. If you were doing your exchanges on, Saturday nights, Sunday nights, in your driveways, summer won't affect you as much. But if you were doing your exchanges at school because you don't really like to see each other for good reasons, then summer can be a little jarring. And then sometimes in summer, someone might have 3, or you might have significant weeks in a row, or you might travel with your children, or they might travel. You don't trust them when they travel. Like, a lot of anxiety can kick in. There's also paying for those summer camps, right? If one person wants to do it and the other person doesn't, it can get complicated. So you get it in writing, you have it figured out in advance, you come up with something that works out for both of you. You know, maybe one parent does summer camps because they can afford it, and the other one has like an amazing time at like all the parts of the neighborhood. Like, there's all different ways to parent really well, and we want to help you with that and let your summer be happy for you too. What are some common issues and challenges that come up in our family law practice regarding summer parenting time? Billy, what have you seen?
A lot. And the biggest thing that I would suggest that clients do is plan far ahead. Plan as far ahead, have deadlines for your planning. That way you can book, as April mentioned, camps. You have to register for those really early, whether it's camps, whether you're planning vacation with your children. My sons have always gone to what we call Camp Grandmother. They spend a week with my mom every summer. They do the same with their mom's mom. And so starting early and working together on a plan, and put it on a calendar where your children can see it, especially if they're young. Like, they get excited about it. They're excited about summer camp. They're excited about grandmothers. And as long as it's focused on them, start early, focus on the children, do things that they want, and be sure to include the grandparents, because grandparents love spending time with their kids in the summer. And it really is like, it builds a bond that just lasts forever.
Yeah, shout out to the grandparents. I love grandparent camp. I never heard of that.
I think my sons liked it the most because I wasn't there. It was just them and their grandmother.
Grandparent camp. Grandparent camp. What are some factors to consider when designing a parenting plan?
Well, there are many factors, really. You know, Billy and Haley have mentioned some of them. It's planning in advance is a good factor that you have to think about. You got to create a fair schedule that's going to work for both the parents and the children. It's not just the parents. It's definitely the children as well, especially if you got kids in sports who are going to require them to have, you know, sports camps over the summer that they have to be at if they want to be on those fall teams. Those are some things that you're going to have to consider. You know, anytime that you've got a parenting plan that kind of changes up when the summer comes around, it could be, you know, a full week with mom during the school days, or with mom during the school year, or with dad, and then you flip them during the summer to make up for some of that other time. It's something you really see, especially if the parents don't live in the same town or the same school districts. So those are some important factors to consider. Where they're going to be living the whole summer. You know, if you're a week on, week off, you're in the same school district, that's a little easier to factor in. But especially if you guys live in different places, that's something that's going to be a little bit more difficult to figure out. You also have to think about holidays. If there's a specific holiday you spend with your family every year, it's a big celebration or a big family reunion, like Billy said, plan that well in advance. That's something you can list out in your parenting plan. You know, you could pick and choose the holidays you always want to have with them, but something like 4th of July, where you want to do a big celebration, that's something you might be switching off year on, year off with each parent. That's something you normally think about beforehand. That's going into the parenting plan. And most parenting plans are going to list out a summer schedule as well. Because that's, you know, it's a big change in the kids' lives between the school year and all the time off, the camps and everything like that. You know, Mother's Day and Father's Day. I know Mother's Day is kind of on the cusp of when the summer season starts, but it's still something to figure out. And, you know, in June, when Father's Day comes around, same thing. Typically the kids are going to spend it with those parents. It just makes a little bit more sense. You know, and any, you know, conflicts that might arise during that time for summer holidays. You know, your kid being at camp and they get injured at the camp. You know, how are you going to deal with that situation? You know, Billy's nodding right there. I'm sure he's dealt with something like that himself with all these years he's had it. So, what have you done in those situations, Billy?
Yeah, I mean, that have a backup plan and have someone who's responsible. Hey, if they're at camp and you have to be picked up, you need to know that before it happens because you can't just drop everything. So that way you kind of block off on your schedule. For us, maybe you don't want to have trials during that week if you know you might have to go rescue the kid from camp because you never know when an arm's going to be broken.
One thing that I have noticed over the years with summer parenting time when people aren't in the same location, when they're out of state, there's this period, this conflict period where the person who is experiencing the summer, who didn't have the school year, right? They're like experiencing this and they like it and they want to keep it. And the child could tell them, you know, let's say mom doesn't let me do X or mom's boyfriend does Y. And they call us to build a case to change summer parenting. That is common. So imagine if you're the judge, you're sitting on the bench. So you go there, you sit on the bench every day. So you only hear the person who wants to change summer because you're who that gets told to. So if you're thinking that there are some issues with summer parenting time that would warrant a change in custody, you should give us a call early. Because if something's really happening and we really need to put something together and be able to explain it to the court and document it, waiting to the last day, you know, you're in line, it's like a traffic back from the mountains out in the ski on Sunday. Like you're in line with the people who just didn't want to have summer end. And if you really have something going on, you know, reach out to us. Let's talk about it. Let's put it together because sometimes that's very real. Like because you got that bulk of time, you were able to see what was going on when normally on the phone, you know, how's everything? Fine. You know, how's mom? Good. How's school? Fine. And then you could actually be in a situation where in the summer, you actually hear the truth or your significant other hears the truth. Like that actually does happen. So we are here to support that. If you think it's happening, call us. If you even feel it a little bit, you know, we can talk through whether this looks like something that we should move on right now or something that we should monitor, etc. So keep that in mind. Summer parenting time can be easy breezy or it can be complex. Either way, we're here to give you plans that are easy and we're here to help you navigate the complex.
That's a great point.
Okay.
That's a great point, April. I was going to say, I mean, one thing to think about, if you're having trouble this summer, contact us now. Because if it's a contested hearing, we may not get a hearing till next spring. Like really think far ahead.
That's a good point because I was speaking more towards emergencies, but you're right on that. If you are talking about next summer, we should start this summer. How should co-parents handle summer camps and extracurricular activities in the management? We've touched on it a little bit, but let's go into more detail. What should they do to make this work right?
My suggestion would be number one, put the kids first, right? Talk to them individually and then try to work together as co-parents. Look, you may not be able to do everything, right? And so you might have to prioritize certain camps. Will was spot on talking about sports camps. All of my sons have played sports. They've played football because we lived in Texas. They play football now, even though we're in Colorado. And so sports camps, especially football, they're going to require you to start late July, early August. So if you're not there, you're not going to play in the fall. And so if your kid is going to be playing football, especially, it really can infringe on that last third of the summer. And so you have to plan accordingly. Also, one of the things that I've found is the more expensive or the more exclusive the camp is, the earlier you have to register. So you might have to register if you wanted to do 2024 summer camp, you may have needed to do that in December or January because the camps have a specific period of time where they allow admissions. And so that's one of the things where you have to decide what camps are super important to you and what you're going to do, and you have to do it early. And obviously, that could be something that could be contentious at times.
I have one for you, Billy. What do you do when we'll take your camp scenario. One parent refuses to pay for the camps. The other person pays for the camps. And the person who refuses comes to all the games.
That is
the t-shirt, the signs, Ooh,
Sometimes you just have to eat a bad piece of pie, right? You just have to eat it and put a smile on, because remember, when you're at those events, your children are seeing you. They are watching you. They know how you react to mom or dad and how mom and dad acts. And it could sting if you paid for all of it, but then they come in with all the glory and then they post it all over their Instagram and show that they're this great parent, when you know in your mind, they didn't even want to pay for this. I paid for this. But that's when I think you just, as a parent, you have to be the bigger person and just do what's right by your child and move forward.
and truthfully, the whole idea of having to be a bigger person doesn't mean you have to be a bigger person, not because you have an ex who you don't get along with. I mean, you have to be a bigger person because you have the kids sometimes, right? So it's just
Yeah.
part of parenting time. You take them on the one on the chin all the time when you're like, you little rascal. Um, so it's the life. But thanks, Billy. Thanks for giving tips on how you manage something that otherwise should just be super frustrating. We've got some chat questions, so I'm going to go to some live chat questions. I am just starting this whole process. This is the question. What additional things need to be considered when parents are living in different states? So I'm going to assume in this question that one of the parents lives in Colorado, otherwise there would not be jurisdiction, and you would need to file in where the parents are, or unless the children are here. But I'm going to assume that somebody's in Colorado. Haley.
Yeah. So if someone is just starting the whole process, so I'm assuming they don't have any order yet, some of the things that you're considering when you're thinking about crafting your parenting plan with your co-parent in between states is to first consider the age of your children. If you're going to be talking about interstate parenting plans, the first idea is going to be, well, how are you going to get to them, or how are they going to get to you? Children can fly as young as unaccompanied minors. It varies by airline and also by parents' comfortability, as well as the children's age and maturity for handling something like flying, whether they're alone or not, as well as with parents are able to drive to come and get their children. I mean, the cost of that associated with interstate parenting plans is something you have to think about when you're coming up with your parenting plan when it comes to the overall support of your children, if one person is going to be bearing additional costs just for exercising their time. And so when you're talking about an interstate parenting plan, during the year, it may not be that during the school year, it may not be that you're able to consistently exercise interstate parenting time, or maybe just one weekend a month. But over the summer, that's when getting some more substantial time back, or having that quality time that could be an extended period, can be crafted into your order. It's important to make sure that your order can be as durable and as lasting as possible, coming up with as many different concepts and ideas that you can put into that plan so that you all have that moving forward. Since you're right in the beginning phase, you're really smart to be thinking about what you can be adding into that to make it durable, like I mentioned.
We have another question in the chat unless someone wants to jump in on that, but that was a great answer, Haley. I want to take a vacation week with my kids, but part of it is on the other parent's time, which usually vacation is. Otherwise, it would just be your parenting time. Is there a recommendation on how I can communicate a request to change in our parenting time? Can I offer some of my time when we get back or before we go? You're thinking ahead. Love it. Will.
Yeah. So of course you can ask if you can do the vacation during the other parent's time. The best thing to do in that situation, as you mentioned, is to offer that make-up parenting time for them during yours. You know, their vacations, you know, you're trying to pick the best dates for your vacation based off of a lot of the time the cost of the flights, the cost of the hotel you're staying at. You know, even if you're just going to stay with family, cost is always going to be something you're thinking about. And sometimes those dates fall during someone else's parenting time. That's fine. You know, like we've said before, you want to talk about this as soon and as early as possible with the other person to give them as much notice. You know, the success with that is kind of going to vary depending on the relationship you and your ex have in those situations. If you're, you know, still cordial, able to communicate, it's going to be an easier conversation than it would if, you know, it's a difficult relationship between you and your ex. But doing something early and often is always going to be the best route. If they're not going to agree with that, you can always file something with the court, asking for permission to take the kids out of those times. And as well, in that you are going to be offering makeup time, you know, even if the court would award that, they're going to award the makeup time for that type of travel. So you kind of hit the head on the nail, or hit the nail on the head right when you asked that question. You had the foresight to see that you will be offering other time to make up for that. But that's something that we see all the time. And it's something that can often be worked out between the parties. And if not, something that the court can intervene on themselves.
And it would seem that if you had a parenting plan, it would have typically, if you have parenting plans now, it would have a vacation schedule because you would need to vacation. So let's say it would say something like each parent has 14 days of vacation a year to, and 1 week of it. No, well, sometimes I write it so it says to include part of the other person's parenting time. So if you have week on, week off, 1 week is yours, the other week is theirs. Otherwise, you can just take theirs. And typically we don't write it that way because the point is you gave up a week and you gained a week. So yes, as Will said, you're spot on. I would propose, if you're doing this yourself, just, hey, let's set some vacation time. This is what I'm proposing. What would you propose? So we can give you your vacation and set that up as well. If they say they don't know, you can say, okay, well, when you're ready, I will give you back that time and let's talk about it then. If you're with the person who the second you say, this is what I want, they say, this is what you can't have, you should give us a call. That definitely happens. And if that's you, you will know who you knew who you were before I finished the sentence. And we're denverdivorceattorneys.com. Just go in, find us, and let's talk about how we can get your agreement corrected, righted, so that you don't even have this problem. Next question from our chat. What if my ex is preventing me from obtaining my child's passport? Is there anything I can do? They have a 50-50 plan. So what can they do, Haley?
Certainly. Does your plan, so my first question would be, I would want to read the plan and see if it has the provisions for applying for the passport. Generally, one parent can have the right, or both parents can have the right to apply for the passport of the child. And then when you apply for a passport for the child, generally the second parent has a form that they complete to indicate that they consent to that being issued. If your order does contain provisions for submitting the information for the passport to be granted, and the other parent is not following the steps that they're following, that could be a situation where you could ask the court to hold them in contempt for not following an order or possible other remedies. But if your order does not contain that information for how to apply for and to obtain a passport for your child, it may be that a modification could be warranted if you've attempted in good faith to try and get the other parent to execute that passport form and you're just not getting anywhere. If your order doesn't provide for it, it's likely something that the court would need to order to have those terms in place for you all to follow moving forward.
And courts take passports really seriously. I mean, judges do not like a parent who withholds a passport or withholds a passport application because the courts know that that's just one parent preventing the child from having a really unique, probably amazing experience traveling. So that's something that the court will jump in and straighten out very quickly. And obviously we can help you.
Absolutely. I see our attendee did mention that their passport provisions are not included in their current order. So it's very likely that a modification could be warranted in your situation. And I would recommend reaching out to us to get a consultation because Billy is exactly right. The child is the one who's missing out and it's simply just not fair. Though I know fair is not a word that courts really take too much kindly to.
Yes, definitely. And if you reach out, I mean, Haley, for example, could possibly just get this corrected with a letter, or an email these days, and save everyone the time, expense, and drain and emotional drain of filing with the court. So if she can get this arranged just by showing up, being your lawyer, saying, hey, this is what we need, this is court's going to order anyway, and draft a stipulation, you file it with the court. Easy peasy.
Absolutely. There are always different methods that we can kind of come to the problem to see if we can't get it resolved, especially when it comes to travel that could be planned sooner rather than later. There might be some creative results that could strategically work in your favor.
Also,
Another, oh, go ahead, Bill,
Yeah.
Will.
Adding a provision like this isn't changing the entirety of parenting time. It's a much simpler process than going in and saying, hey, I want these days, I want them changed like a certain way. It's a provision that if a court sees, oh yeah, this wasn't addressed in the initial parenting plan, this is going to be a quicker and easier process than it would be to go in and have someone potentially come in and say, I think this parent should have more parenting time based off of this other parent's actions.
Exactly. Yeah. Question from the chat. These are my favorite questions from the chat because they're just so live and real. What happens if my ex, number one, my ex doesn't follow the agreed upon summer parenting schedule? The daughter is supposed to be with this parent for 4 consecutive weeks in the summer. This parent lives in Illinois, and mom always makes things difficult, and he's lucky if he gets a week. Okay, that when I first read it, I read it while everybody else was talking. That grates on me so much. I mean, that's part of why we created this firm. That a good parent, that a good dad can't have his parenting time with his child when there's a court order and they really want it. It's just like, anyway, his question is, this has and so this has happened for the last 2 summers. So as a child of divorced parents whose father in the 60s just kind of did that thing when they just disappear and call you like on your birthday-ish. When I first started doing family law, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at all these good dads who like want to be parents. They're like, oh, please let me parent. It's like, I've never heard of such a thing. So this is exactly why we've created the firm. Billy.
I mean, if they're purposely doing this, they're in contempt of a court order. File a motion for contempt and get it enforced. And again, back to what we were talking about earlier, I hate that this person's having to go through this for a second summer. But the first time anything like this pops up with someone, call us, get us involved, let us help you get through the process so this doesn't keep happening over and over. Because obviously someone who behaves that way, their behavior is not going to change. We're going to have to get the courts to help us change it for them.
Absolutely. And you cannot let this happen again. You shouldn't more than once, more than twice. I mean, after a while, you are not taking advantage of your parenting time, right? And so then we have to potentially come up against that argument that, well, he didn't send the tickets, or, well, he didn't send for her. And then he would say, well, she always told me no, so I didn't do it. And then you start getting into a hole that we have to dig you out of. Let's not do that. Let's be on it immediately. If you're not getting your time this summer, the second she says you're not, we're filing, we'll ask for makeup parenting time, and maybe we can get you the whole summer or plus makeup time. So let's get this fixed, please. Oh, I have another live one in a few minutes. So let me try to get to this one because these are my favorite. The mother is very irresponsible, and my son is supposed to go out to see her this summer. Oh. Mother informed me a couple weeks back she's going to move in with a boyfriend who lives in a different state. Oh. If I don't think it's safe for my daughter to be in a house and a state that her and her mother have never been to, is there something I could file before school lets out? Okay, this is real. Who wants to jump in on this one? Okay, Billy.
Yes, I mean, again, swift action. If you really have a concern, one thing that's important, and I really empathize with this person, but one thing that's important that you have to remember is we have to prove things. We have to have evidence to prove what's going to happen. And that can be kind of a catch-22, because if mom hasn't moved yet, but you think she's going to move, then that can be a little harder to litigate. But I would definitely get out in front of the situation, find out everything you can about what makes this move unsafe, or what makes this boyfriend a bad guy, like if he has a criminal history or something like that, if he's been convicted of domestic violence, anything that we can do to prove to the court that this is a situation where their prior order shouldn't be enforced, we get on it and we fight. That's all you can do, honestly.
And to the extent that your reasons are not like because they've got a record of abuse, but other reasons, right? Call us, let's talk about it. I mean, even if it is the big ones, but there's many reasons. There are many reasons. And you clearly have your own about why this is not safe for your daughter. And a lot of, I mean, what the court does is what's in the best interest of your child. So this person's situation could not be best for your child, where maybe whatever it is could be fine for somebody else. We don't know, we haven't talked to you, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about it now and see, you know, what we can do with your facts.
Right, because it's the best interest of the child. It's not the best interest of mom. Just because mom wants to move states and move with the new boyfriend, that could very well not be in the best interest of the child.
Yes. So yeah, we'd actually love to talk about it with you further. We are all quite curious. And I'm sure I can speak for my team because we do brain trust every morning, and we are all curious because this is what we love. This is how we've chosen to spend our professional careers, handling these kinds of cases and championing our clients and their children and their lives. So we are out of time. Thank you for the live chat. Sorry I didn't get to all of the preset questions, but I really do like to honor the people who've showed up and are just really having some needs that they want to talk about. So thanks. We enjoyed talking to you, with you, and we will see you next time.
Hi, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this episode of our webinar series. You can reach us at denverdivorceattorneys.com. You can call us at 303-799-8155. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn. You can find us if you need us, and we're here to help. Thank you, and see you next time.